Following World War II, a number of trials were held for Nazis who were alleged to have committed one of the most heinous crimes of the 21st century. These trials included those of war criminals who were involved in the Holocaust, with the Nuremberg trials being the most well-known. One of the most well-known individuals to have been found guilty and given the death penalty for her role in the concentration camps and Holocaust was convicted after the liberation of Auschwitz and numerous other concentration camps. It became evident that those responsible for the atrocities committed within these camps needed to be punished. Was Irma McGrazer. Please remember to support our channel as we examine the furious execution of the Hyena of Auschwitz, Irma McGrazer. Today, born on October 7, 1923, Irma McGrazer came from a big family, but at any rate. After learning that Irma's father had been having an affair, her mother would commit suicide by consuming hydrochloric acid when she was around 13 years old. At the age of 15, Irma dropped out of school shortly before World War II started in 1939 and began working as an assistant nurse at a sanatorium for SS soldiers who required time to recuperate. Her father forbade her from joining the Nazi Association of German Girls when she was a teenager. She wanted to become a nurse but would have to work at Ravensbrück concentration camp. Before turning 18, she transferred to the SS Female Helpers Training Base, which was close to the all-female camp Irma had been assigned to. She would believe that the Weimar Republic was corrupt and had drained Germany dry, so she started to reveal the brainwashing that the Nazis were doing after being exposed to Nazism, especially Hitler's speeches and theories, and coming to believe that the Nazi way was the best course for Germany. She had been volunteering as a concentration camp guard in Ravensbrück and had not been required to work in this manner, but in July 1942, when she was 19 years old, she was promoted to supervisor of Ravensbrück, which served as a training ground for female SS guards. After making an impression on many, she was sent to Auschwitz in March 1943, where she was given a job as a guard inside the Birkenau complex. Persecution of Jews and other groups in Germany, along with policies and programs against them, were causing immense suffering. In the camp's extermination section, Grazer had previously broken up with her father over her work in the SS, and he had made her leave his home. Grazer would take part in the prisoner selection process for those who weren't fit enough to work at Auschwitz, and those who weren't were sent straight to the gas chambers. She would eventually become the second highest ranking female employee of a concentration camp. She would also be involved in transports between camps in March 1943, working at Bergen-Belsen before being taken prisoner by the British Army after Belsen was liberated. In addition to other SS men and women who stayed behind after the war, survivors of the Holocaust in the concentration camps would share details about what truly transpired there. Numerous stories about Irma McGrazer and her activities in the various camps would surface, detailing Grace's actions. Rather startling, and she would exhibit a great deal of sadism toward the prisoners, which frequently included the senseless murder of prisoners. In one account it was mentioned that she had affairs with other Nazis, and that Grazer would specifically choose beautiful prisoners to be sent to the gas chambers. Out of jealousy, female inmates were sent straight to their deaths. It was also observed that Grazer would place her dog on inmates who had been trained to kill, causing them to savagely attack the inmates. However, Irma would also whip the inmates and repeatedly kick and beat them with their boots until blood was extracted when Belton was freed. Along with 45 other people, camp leader Joseph Kramer was arrested and put on trial for war crimes by a British military court. The hearing covered the numerous accusations of murder and mistreatment of the captives at Bergen-Belsen and Auschwitz. Trials and belts would be held. And an army major from the Cranfield Emirates would represent Emma. Although she would enter a not guilty plea to the specific accusations against her, the evidence and testimony against her were shocking and damning, and witnesses and victims would talk about the needless and random beatings. They had to deal with her abuse and the way she would shoot inmates who were working at random for no apparent reason. Along with her techniques of choosing women for the gas chambers, the court was also heard the stories of how her half-starved dogs would scavenge and kill captives. Irma McGrazer was also accused of beating some women to death, using physical and emotional torture techniques in the camp, and shooting prisoners without cause. What was most shocking of all, though, was what was purportedly discovered inside her hut and quarters at one of the camps. It was said that there were free lampshades made from the skins of deceased prisoners in her hut, but this claim is disputed. Emma was dubbed the "beautiful beast" by the media during her trial, and after a 9-week trial, it was clear that she was given the death penalty for her crimes. She was one of only 3 female guards to be executed for her involvement in the events. The other 2 were Johanna Bormann and Elizabeth Volkenrath. When the sentence was read aloud, Grazer would not budge, but she did request a new trial, which was denied, and her McGrazer was to be hanged. Located in Hammond Jail, where the gallows was constructed by the British Army's Royal Engineers, 11 condemned individuals were kept in a row of small cells along a corridor with the execution chamber. The famous British hangman Albert Pierpoint was flown over to carry out these executions, which were scheduled for Thursday, December 13, 1945. He said that at least we had finished recording the men's details and that it was ordered to bring out Irma McGrazer. She appeared to be the most bonnier girl a person could ever meet, and when she was asked her age, she paused and smiled, and I noticed that we were both grinning with her, as if we understood the embarrassment of a woman disclosing her age. Quick German for Quick Irma was 5 feet 4 1/4 inches tall, weighed 150 pounds, and was given a drop of 7 feet 4 inches. When O'Neill asked her to step on the scales, she replied, "Quick German." It was decided that since she was the youngest of the 3 women, she would die first, and the executions of the women took place. And the last one, Johanna Bormann, at 10:38 a.m. at 9:34 a.m. and 10:04 a.m. When we ascended the stairs to the cells where the condemned were waiting the next morning, according to Pierpoint, a German officer at the hallway door threw open the door, and we fired past it and into the execution chamber. The officers were standing watching. I am a grazer, therefore I contacted the German soldiers and promptly closed all of the grills on the 12 inspection holes and opened one door when Brig. Patton Walsh, who was standing with his wristwatch elevated, gave me the signal. Emma Grazer exited the cell since it was much too small for me to enter. And I had to pinion her in the hallway. I said, "Follow me," in English, and O'Neill repeated the instructions in German. At 9:34 a.m., she entered the execution chamber, looked at the official standing around it for a moment, and then moved into the middle of the trap, where I had drawn a mark with chalk. She stood firmly on this mark. The doctor followed me into the pit and declared her dead after 20 minutes. The body was removed and placed in a coffin for burial after Irma Gray's death, and her belongings were given to her sister. She said, "Quick," in a languid voice, as I placed the white cap over her head. This included around 440 Reich marks in cash as well as a bank book with over 4,400 Rush marks in balance. This demonstrates how much money McGrazer earned as a senior female concentration camp guard. In contrast, a basic textile worker would only receive 76 Raj marks per month, and their offenses as grazers were serious. And her unimaginable and heinous wickedness in some of the world's most terrible places demonstrates the true extent and brutality of the Holocaust. The intriguing thing about Grazer, however, is that she was in her low 20s when she was put to death, making her the youngest woman to die under British law in the 20th century. It's amazing that she showed such terrible cruelty and savagery to the prisoners at such a young age, and it's obvious that she was terrified of the concentration camp system. She certainly received what she deserved when she was pierced on December 13, 1945, inside the Hamlin execution chamber. Jail once again, thank you very much for watching, and please remember to subscribe to help support our channel.